happy Tuesday evening. I hope everyone's doing well and having a great week. Wait for a couple people to get on here before I get started talking about hunger. And what is hunger and what triggers hunger and how can we better manage hunger and help our bodies better manage hunger so that we can stay on track with our health goals. I just walked in the door from the office. I was in a hailstorm on the way home. My hair got wet walking in from the garage. I had a busy day at the office. I took some notes on what I wanted to talk about over lunch today, but haven't had a chance to practice this or anything else. So you guys are going to be real patient with me as I glance over at my notes as I talk, because I don't want to leave anything out. I think this stuff is really super fascinating. And I hope that this knowledge helps you and maybe makes you feel a little more empowered in how you can take control of hunger in your life so that you can be the healthy person that you want to be. Okay, so let's talk about hunger. How many people can relate to feeling hungry a lot? Like you just ate like an hour ago and you're already hungry and kind of thinking about the next time that you can eat. Maybe you can identify with getting hangry when you have gone too long in between meals. Maybe you kind of live feeling like your entire day revolves around managing your food and your appetite. Maybe you can relate to blaming yourself and feeling like your lack of this reign that hunger has over your life is evidence of a lack of self-control or some kind of character defect. I know I can identify with all of these things and have spent time feeling bad about myself and thinking, heck, if I just wasn't so hungry, I know I could meet my health goals. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Jamie. So I understand that frustration, and that honestly is something that I lived with for a lot of my adult life. Is that frustration with hunger, that feeling that my body was actively trying to sabotage my weight loss efforts. So if you can identify with that at all, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want to talk today a little bit about what's going on in your body when you're feeling hungry, what stimulates hunger and how we can control it a little bit better. I am not a health professional. This stuff is incredibly complex. You'll forgive me if you know more than I do about this stuff, if I'm oversimplifying some of these concepts. But I want to make it easy to understand for people what's going on in your body when you're feeling hungry. Okay, so hunger, simply put, I liked this definition that I read. Hunger is our brain reading changes in the levels of hormones and nutrients in the blood. Hey, that sounds pretty simple, right? Well, it's actually a pretty complex mix of factors that influences that. But hunger is registered in our brain. It's registered in our hypothalamus, which is kind of like in the middle part of our brain. It's registered in the hypothalamus. And man, hunger is powerful, y'all. It is a powerful biological urge, and its purpose is to keep us alive. This is the hunger that would force people to go out and hunt and gather for their food and not sit there on their butt, So it is a powerful force, and it serves a purpose. And it's really just recently that we've gotten to a point as a society where we have to kind of fight and manage hunger because its cues have gotten distorted in our society where we do not have any kind of shortage of food. So you can fight hunger short term. I think we've all been at a place, or time where we kind of had to fight hunger. And you can fight it short term. You might even be able to fight it for a few weeks and months, but you will not be able to fight that long term. And anyone who's gone on a diet that leaves them hungry can attest that diet will eventually fail. If you are in a state where your body is required to be hungry, you will not be able to keep that up long term. And you will find that when you go back to eating normally, your body will be primed to hold on to every last thing that you give it, and you will gain back all the weight that you potentially lost on that starvation diet plus more. So it's important, if weight loss and healthy weight management are in our goals, that we learn how we can manage hunger and support our body in giving us the proper cues around hunger. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the hormones that communicate with our hypothalamus to tell us to eat? Well, the first one I want to talk about is called ghrelin. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. Doesn't that word sound like your tummy growling at you? Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It is secreted by the stomach when the stomach senses that it's empty. And it's also secreted by your pancreas when it senses that blood sugar's low. So you're between meals, stomach's starting to feel kind of empty, your blood sugar's low, your body's going to release ghrelin. Ghrelin goes to your brain and tells it to eat. It also slows down metabolism. So it's like, hey, it's time to eat. Let me start conserving the energy and the fuel that I have left. So it's going to slow down your metabolism once ghrelin is released and signal you that it is time to eat. Ghrelin is a quick acting hormone. Who can relate to going from like 0 to 100 on the hunger scale, like within about 15 minutes? It's a quick acting hormone. Its intention is to get you to act. It wants you to eat. Okay, so ghrelin, powerful hormone, tells your body that you're hungry. You want to hear something interesting though? Studies have shown that people who have dieted and lost weight often produce more ghrelin post-weight loss. So after you have lost weight, your body is going to produce more ghrelin. It's going to produce more of that signaling to your brain that you're hungry so that it can regain the weight. Okay, so that's kind of a bummer, right? Like that you're finding out that you're not making this up. Your body's fighting against you. After you have gone on a strict diet, your body will be primed to produce more of the hormone that slows your metabolism and makes you want to eat. Okay, so that's hormone number 1 that we're talking about. Next, okay, so let's say your body's released ghrelin. What are you going to do? You're going to eat, and that is going to increase your blood glucose levels and stimulate the release of insulin by your pancreas. Insulin is a master hormone in your body. It is responsible for all kinds of things. But one of its primary purposes is to take the sugar that is in your blood glucose, and to get that glucose up into the cells of your body so that it can be used as energy. If there's too much of it, it's going to be stored as fat instead of energy. So that's why we know that when we eat the sugary foods and all that kind of stuff, that we get fatter, because there's too much blood glucose to be taken up into our cells to use for energy, and it's going to be stored as adipose tissue. But insulin, this role that it has in the metabolism of our fuels, it's incredibly important, but it's also a hormone that's also talking to our hypothalamus and signaling the fact that we have eaten. It is a quick acting hormone similar to ghrelin. It acts quicker than leptin, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it's sending those signals to your brain that, hey, I've eaten something. Hey, there's energy here. Do something with it, basically, is what insulin is telling your brain. And the interesting thing is that if we become insulin resistance is when we have so much sugar in our blood that our body releases more and more insulin to try to get it taken care of. Our cells become resistant to the call of insulin to let more sugar in. And it's like basically they've said, hey, stop ringing the doorbell. We don't want any more of your blood sugar. And so when our cells become insulin resistant, you want to know what also happens is the receptors in our brain that tell us that we have eaten also become resistant to that call of insulin as well. So our brain signaling can become resistant to insulin, and we will lose a little bit of that signaling that tells us that we're full. So when people are really overweight or maybe diabetic or pre-diabetic and struggling with that insulin resistance, they will have a harder time registering that they're satiated and will feel more hungry because those insulin receptors in their brain are not responding as promptly as they otherwise are intended to. So that's kind of interesting right there, right? Okay, so the last hormone I want to talk about is leptin, and leptin is your satiety hormone. Leptin is slower acting. It is released by our adipose tissue, so it's not released by one of our organs. It's released by your fat tissues, and it's intended to send a signal to the brain telling it to reduce food intake and increase energy expenditure. So it's basically saying, hey, we have plenty of fat reserves here. Stop eating and go ahead and expend some of this energy. And so that sounds like, it's in fact that if you have more fat tissue, you have higher levels of leptin, because you have more adipose tissue that is releasing this leptin. So as you're saying, well, if I have more leptin, why am I not feeling more satiated? Well, guess what? You can also become leptin resistant. The receptors in your brain will become resistant to leptin, telling it that it is satiated, that it has enough energy stores, and that it should start doing something about it. So all of this makes sense in the terms of like, well, if you're overweight, your symptoms are more resistant to the hormones that are trying to tell you that you're full. And if you have kind of gone through a period of maybe yo-yo dieting, you're also going to have an increase in the hormone that's telling you you're hungry. No wonder your hunger is out of control. You're not making this up. Your body really is actively fighting against your weight loss efforts. I know reading this, I was like, thank you. Finally, I know that I'm not crazy, right? So that just tells you a little bit about what's going on in your body. So what can we do about it? If you're, on this roller coaster, how can we get some of these hormones back into balance to properly signal your body when it's the right time for it to actually need fuel and not just it telling you to eat all the time, okay? So what we can do is we can help our body find better balance with all of these hormones through diet and supplementation, so that we can stop this self-sabotaging cycle. So controlling hunger starts with controlling your insulin and controlling your blood sugar levels. So that blood glucose is critical. Our pancreas, like I said, releases ghrelin when our blood sugar is low. So when you're at this end of the spectrum, your pancreas is going to say, hey, it's time to eat. It's going to send that hunger hormone to your brain. When your blood sugar is high, it's going to actually increase your appetite by suppressing the satiety response in your hypothalamus. So if you're on this roller coaster all day long, then at the highs and the lows, your body's sending you signals that it's time to eat. And can you understand why, if all through those highs and lows, you're getting those signals and you're having to use your willpower to just eat at the right times, right? You're trying to willpower it through, that is not a sustainable cycle. You have to stop the roller coaster ride and bring those insulin levels into a nice, healthy, stable balance so that that signaling can correct itself. So, we can help, and then, so we got to get that insulin under control. We got to get the blood sugar right, okay? Secondly, we can help our body register hunger more slowly by eating a fiber-rich diet that helps the stomach empty more slowly and register fullness longer. So remember, I also said that ghrelin is released when the stomach is empty. So if we can keep the stomach from emptying quite as quickly so that it doesn't register that emptiness sooner, then ghrelin's release will be delayed so that we feel fuller for longer, okay? So those are kind of two things. So how can we do that? Well, first, dietary changes. So I want to say that no matter, you're in this group because you know someone who loves Plexus, but what I want to tell you is that no matter how well you are supplementing, your food choices will always be the number one indicator and driver of your overall health and your weight. So you've probably heard the phrase that you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You also cannot out-supplement a bad diet. And I would not be interested in being part of any health company that tried to tell you otherwise and tried to tell you that, hey, take these products and you can put junk in your body all the time and you'll feel great and you'll be healthy and you'll totally lose weight. Y'all, that is not what we are talking about over here at Plexus. Your food choices are of critical importance to your overall health. And what I believe is that supplementation can just help your body more quickly make those physiological and hormonal changes that will allow your body to stop fighting you, that will keep this from being a sheer willpower game that, like I said, is not sustainable, but that will help bring your body back into balance so that you are getting the right signaling and it just takes that edge up. It's just that boost up to give you the help that you need so that this doesn't have to be so hard and like there's not so much brain damage involved with, okay, I got to control my leptin and my ghrelin and my insulin and like, yeah, we got things to do. We got kids and jobs and stuff like that. That we can't be thinking about that all day long. Supplementation, especially what Plexus offers, it just takes the brain damage out, you guys. And it just makes it easier and just gives you that foot up because life is hard and no one got time for this, okay? So let's talk about diet first. You need to help your body maintain healthy blood sugar levels by eating low glycemic foods that create a slow release of glucose into the bloodstream. Okay, so these are foods that are like complex grains and carbohydrates, as well as, of course, proteins, fruits, veggies, things like that, that help your body slow that release of glucose into the bloodstream. There are some popular diets out there that I'm certainly not going to have the time to get into, like a keto diet, which is kind of a low carb thing. That is kind of where your body is in a state where you have depleted your glycogen stores, so it's not using that quick energy and it's accessing your fat stores for the use of fuel, and it produces what's called ketones in the liver for energy. I have personally had a lot of success on a diet similar to that over the last few months. I've lost all of my baby weight and I'm down about 35 pounds since New Year's. I am not on a really strict low carb diet. I still have about 100 grams of carbs a day, but it is still enough to keep my body in a fat burning state. And I'm not hungry as a result of that because it knows I worked through all those glycogen stores a while ago, and it knows it has plenty of fuel left to deal with in my fat reserves, and it's burning through that. So I'm not going to get into all of that. I know also people talk about intermittent fasting as being a great way to help reprogram some of this hormonal signaling. I can't say that I've done a ton of research on that, but I've talked to some people that I know that are really knowledgeable on this stuff that have spoken highly of that. Of course, paleo or Whole30 are all intended to kind of help get you that low glycemic food that's going to help keep your blood sugar balanced over the course of the day. You're not getting really simple, like even those like diet foods that are out there in bars and stuff like that are often just really quick energy for your body. You're going to run right through them and you're going to be hungry in 45 minutes. So go for low glycemic foods. Try eating smaller amounts frequently to maintain normal insulin levels. So like the whole 6 small meals a day or 3 meals and 3 snacks or whatever you're going to do. Keep it balanced over the course of the day. Eat before you're famished. Don't let Ghrelin really start yelling at you, okay? So you're more likely when Ghrelin is really like sounding the alarms, you're going to be more likely to gravitate towards foods that are going to provide super quick fuel for your body. So you're going to gravitate to the sugar. You're going to gravitate towards the cookies and whatever else, the ice cream, that kind of stuff that your body can just put right to energy like that. But that is going to cause a spike in insulin and kind of start the roller coaster ride right over. So eat before you're famished. Try to plan your meals around always having something healthy on hand so that you don't get to the hangry stage, okay? Drink lots of water. It helps your body to feel fuller longer. And hydration does also play a key role in our body's signaling about hunger. So those are some great changes that you can make to your diet. I know I had heard all of those tips a lot. Eat slowly so that leptin has more time to register in your brain. Drink the water, eat slowly, eat small meals. Y'all, I had heard all of that for a long time before Plexus. And that did not really help my hunger situation. And what has really helped is these supplements that I have from Plexus. I've been on Plexus for 2 years now. I started it as an exhausted, stressed out mom of 2 that had been absolutely for everything that I tried, unable to lose even a pound of my second baby weight. And I was super frustrated and defeated in that fight. And Plexus Slim is the specific supplement I want to talk about today and how it helps in these things that we are talking about around hunger. So Plexus Slim is that pink drink that everyone that you know that does Plexus is always raving about. And it's delicious, but it also helps the body manage blood sugar and insulin. It helps keep your blood glucose levels at healthy levels. Its primary active ingredient is chromium, which helps enhance the function of insulin in the body. It helps make it more effective and a little bit more efficient, as well as chlorogenic acid, which is a very powerful polyphenol antioxidant that helps slow the release of blood glucose into the bloodstream. It helps with the roller coaster that I'm talking about. So it is a really awesome natural product that has helped me so much in this area. And so I want to give you a little history lesson on Plexus Slim. Plexus Slim was introduced back in 2009 and was wildly popular. Plexus grew like crazy over the following years. Well, in 2017, they released a reformulation of this popular product. The original product had a fiber in it called polydextrose. And they switched that out in 2017 for a new prebiotic gut-friendly fiber called XOS. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the scientific name of it, but it's called XOS. This fiber, this XOS fiber, has been clinically demonstrated to help increase the levels of good bacteria in the gut that are associated with healthy weight, specifically one called Akkermansia, as well as short-chain fatty acids. Your gut plays a huge role in weight management. I didn't have time to get into all of that tonight, but it plays a huge role in your weight management. And so this XOS Slim that was released last year was a game changer. Holy cow. The pictures you've been seeing of your friends that are all gut glam now, that is a result of this XOS Slim that we were introduced to last year. And I know that I have been loving that for a year. I took that through my second pregnancy. I am now 9 months postpartum. Remember how I told you that for 3.5 years, I couldn't lose a pound of weight from my second baby? I am 9 months postpartum from my third pregnancy, and I am 10 pounds under the weight that I started that pregnancy at. And now I'm just getting the weight off, the rest of the last 10 pounds off from that second baby, but it is coming off nice and steady. And so that Exos Slim, total game changer that we've had for about a year now. Well, Plexus did get some feedback that for some people who really struggle with hunger, that are dealing with this missignaling with the ghrelin and the leptin and the insulin and all that kind of stuff, some of those people noticed that they were not having, while they were seeing a lot of other cool results from the Exos Slim, they didn't have quite as much of a little boost in that hunger control as they got from the original Slim formulation. So guess what Plexus did? They just released a new Slim called Slim Hunger Control. And it basically took that original formulation of Slim and doubled the polydextrose fiber in that Slim. Polydextrose, and they doubled it, so this is a now clinically studied level of polydextrose that has been shown to help manage hunger and appetite. And so why would this be? Why would people be seeing these benefits from the Slim HC that they're not seeing from the Slim XOS or even from the original Slim formulation with the polydextrose? Well, polydextrose is a bulkier fiber than XOS is. If you even look at the packets between these two Slims, the Slim Hunger Control is almost twice as much material. And it's because this polydextrose is a bulkier fiber. And it is, it's a bigger molecule, and it's got all these branched chains. And so it's got all this room in there for water to attach to. So you've got this bulky fiber with all this space in it. And when you combine that with water in your stomach, it's going to create, it's going to adhere and almost create this gel. And that gel creates a stomach distension, that feeling of fullness. When you've eaten, it creates distension of the stomach, and it also helps delay gastric emptying. So it's actually helping your stomach empty slower so that you feel full longer. So that's just saying that when we were talking about the ghrelin and the emptying of the stomach and how if your stomach is fuller longer, you're going to have a delay in the release of that ghrelin. So you're going to feel fuller longer. So this polydextrose Slim, this Slim Hunger Control, it has all the exact same benefits in terms of blood glucose control and all of that kind of stuff, the exact same as far as that's concerned. But the Slim Hunger Control is going to give you that little extra help of not feeling hungry quite as fast if that's an area where you really, really feel like you're struggling. So I think that is a really, really exciting development. So we now have the two Slims. We have our XOS microbiome activating Slim, and we have our Slim Hunger Control. So a couple things I want to note on that before I jump off here is that one, the polydextrose and Slim Hunger Control is and has always been, what was in the previous original Slim formulation, it is non-GMO polydextrose. Some people kind of have a negative association with polydextrose fiber because the cheap way to grow it is as mold on GMO corn, which doesn't really excite anyone. But if you are someone who cares about clean eating, then the fact that this is polydextrose from non-GMO sources is going to be really important to you. So I did want to point that out in case that kind of triggered you to think negatively of polydextrose. And I also want to just say one that while the mechanisms that I'm talking about here that Slim HC is using to help impact your hunger, some of that is quick acting. And you may notice fairly quick results. But what the real power that we're talking about here is retraining your body, retraining this hormone signaling to work in a little bit more balanced and appropriate way. It may have gotten out of whack from years of yo-yo dieting, from years of going low calorie, low fat, low carb, doing all this crazy stuff that you may have been doing for decades that has gotten these hormone pathways and this signaling process out of whack. And so I want you to know that, yeah, you might maybe in a week's time be noticing that your hunger is way under control. But it also may take several months to correct some of these signaling pathways. So I want you to know that you can be patient. You need to be patient and expect that this might take a little longer. It might take 30 days. It might take 60, 90 days, or even a little bit more to correct these pathways, guys. Think of all the things that you've done to yourself over the years that have impacted what I'm talking about, and think through, what is it going to take for my body to correct some of that? And be patient while it does, okay? And then also just want to emphasize, again, it wasn't the focus of this talk, but gut health is a critical component to every single health goal you have. So whether that involves your weight, your energy, your mood, you name it, gut health is a part of it. So even though I was talking here about blood sugar and your stomach emptying and fiber and all this kind of stuff, I want to emphasize that your gut health is also a key player in all of this. So for instance, your sugar cravings are often tied to a yeast overgrowth in your gut. You've got to get that yeast overgrowth under control to help with that, with those sugar cravings. So we strongly recommend that you look at doing Slim Hunger Control in conjunction with what we call the triplex, which is our gut health combo. So that combines Slim with 2 awesome products, a probiotic called ProBio 5 that also has an enzyme and an antifungal to fight that yeast that we're talking about in your gut, as well as BioCleanse and oxygenated magnesium to help move some of this toxic waste out of your gut, oxygenate your system to promote overall health. Guys, these 2 products, I mean, all 3 of them, Slim, BioCleanse, ProBio 5, have absolutely changed my life. So it's easy to see a product advertised as Slim Hunger Control and you're like, hey, I want to be slim. I need hunger control. Sign me up for that. And that's all you want. And I say that because if that was what was out when I had signed up for Plexus, I probably would have signed up for just that. But I want to emphasize that if you're looking for health, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about root cause, getting to the issues and balancing stuff out. You want to do the whole triplex. If you can, I absolutely encourage you to do the Slim XOS, the microbiome activating Slim, alongside the Slim Hunger Control. I've been doing that here for the last 2 weeks. I've been doing my microbiome activating Slim in the morning and my Slim Hunger Control in the afternoon, and it helps me get through that late afternoon, getting out of the office, getting home to make dinner. In fact, like I said at the beginning of this, I just ran out of the office, drove through a hailstorm to get home, and got and sat right down here at my desk. I have not eaten dinner, and it's 7:30 here, and I am not hungry yet. So I get to go make dinner. I'm not going to be super snacky and grabbing everything in the kitchen while I'm making dinner and trying to get through that phase. So that's what it's doing for me. If you can do both of those Slims together, I think you will see amazing results with that. If not, at the very least, get our triplex combo that includes Slim HC to help you get through this phase and get to a point where you're able to manage your hunger a little bit more effectively and appropriately. So don't shortchange yourself on that. Get the triplex. But I hope this has just been informative. I hope it empowers you to know that you're not alone in this struggle of feeling hungry all the time, and that where you're finding that to be such a source of frustration in your weight loss goals, that just know that there are reasons that this is happening. Yes, you're not crazy. You're not making this up. It does feel like your body's sabotaging you, and in some ways it is. But there are ways through diet and proper supplementation that you can help bring those signaling channels back into a healthy balance to really support your body. And that is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about Plexus, is it just gives people those tools that they need to get their body to a place that they can't with just willpower and dietary changes alone, because I've been there, guys. So I hope this is informative. Thank you to everyone who's commenting here. I love the comments, but I can't look at them while I'm talking or I get totally distracted. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It's so fun to see you all on here, and I hope this has been helpful and informative. If you have any questions, please go back to the person that invited you here, but thank you so much for joining us on your Tuesday evening. All right, guys.